Hello, cluster students. This is your second lesson on multiplying, dividing, rational expressions. We simplified last week, but now we're going to do multiplying. Division will be in the next video, the third video. So we need to review multiplying fraction. You're like, Miss Taylor, I know how to multiply across, and then divide. I'm like, yes, you're right. But let's see if we can just simplify it by using factors. So if I look, 6 and 8, they share a factor. They do. They share 2. So I can reduce this to 3 and 4. So I have 3 over 4 here. And then I can go again like, oh, wait, in this fraction, there's a 3. So just because it's in one fraction doesn't mean I can't use it because I would have multiplied it out anyway. So 3 is shared, so 1 and 1. So that actually got all taken away. But we still have it 10. And 10 and 4 have a common factor. They have a 2 as a common factor. So I can do 10 divided by 2, which is 5, and 4 divided by 2, which is 2. And what am I left with in the numerator and denominator? 1 times 5 and 2 times 1. So my answer is 5 over 2. All right, let's look at this one. So I can do the same thing. That 9 and that 15, they do share something. I can simplify it that way. So 9 and 15, they share 3. So I can make use 3 over 5. But if I look over there, I can still keep simplifying because at 5 and 20, I can definitely simplify that. So 20 divided by 5 is 4, and 5 divided by 5 is 1. So 15 has been simplified out. So I can still do some simplification. So I have a 3 right there, and 3 and 6 can be simplified, or I can work with the 4 and 6 because they're divisible by 2. So let's do 4 divided by 2 is 2, and 6 divided by 2 is 3. Then I have that 3 there. My whole answer is 2. And so that's just simplifying, just using numbers. Let's talk about expressions. So here we go. Keep going. So this, you guys know how to do. It's pretty easy. We already know what the variables are. So let's knock that out the way. So we have x to the second and x to the third. We have x to the third in the denominator, x to the second in the numerator. Well, I can say, oh, well, that will turn into just x because I would subtract and there are more x's at the bottom. And so I can do the same thing for y. I know this will be y to the fourth because I need to subtract because of division. There's more y's at the top, so I know it'll be in my numerator. Now I'm going to do my magic with my numbers and try to simplify those. So I have 8, 5, 10, and 6. I easily see the 5. So 5 divided by 5 is 1, and 10 divided by 5 is 2. So I have that 2 right there. Now let's work with 8 and 6, or 2 and 6, which is fine. So let's look at 2 and 6. So 2 over 6, I can easily cancel the 6. They both divided by 2. So 2 divided by 2 gives me a 1. 6 divided by 2 is a 3. So what do I have in my numerator? That 8 never got simplified. So I have an 8y4 and a 3x. All right, let's go to the next. Now this one you're like, oh my God, this is getting crazy. Well, let's make this a little bit better by bringing it together so we don't have so many x's and y's. So I have x to the third in the numerator and y to the fifth, and that it's easier to see what to do with your variables. And I have x to the 10th and y to the 9th. Well, that's easy because we know the rule for subtraction on property of exponents. So we're going to go y to the 4th at the bottom and x to the 7th in the numerator. And now let's just do our canceling, our simplifying with our numbers. Let's factor it. So I have 6 and 4, which would be 3 halves, right? Well, that 10 and 9 do not share anything at all, but the 3 and a 9 does. So I can have a 3 and a 1, and then the 2 and the 10 share a 2, so that would be 5. So my answer is I only have a 5 in my numerator, and that is my denominator. All right, so now let's get to the part where you're used to. We have to factor. So the same simplification can happen too from fraction to fraction where you can cancel out. If you have the same binomial or the same variable, they can be factored. So let's start. So first we got x squared minus 4. That's difference of squares. That's easy. We know exactly what that's going to factor to. All right, at the bottom we have a negative 6 to a negative 1. What would that take? A 3 and a 2? And we know the 3 needs to be negative. So in the new denominator, we have that. All right, so those are not going to be that. We just got to look at what they share. It's not difference of squares. They share, each term shares a 3x in the numerator. So I can take a 3x out and go, oh, 3x times, x and 3x times 5 will give me back that. So that gives me that one. And so you can do the same thing. You should see that a 6x is shared by both terms. So I can factor out a 6x. Now this is the fun part. So once you factor it, it's all about just simplifying everything, canceling out. So I see x minus 2, you are gone. X plus 2 is gone. And no more binomials to factor, but we can factor the 3, the 6, and the x. So x and x is gone, and 3 and 6 should be reduced to 1 over 2. So hence, the only thing in my numerator worth keeping, we don't want to leave a 1, we don't need it, is that x plus 5. And then we have a 2 and an x minus 3 in the denominator. And then that's your answer. All right, let's move on to the next. So we have B. I seem to have something written here. All right, so in B, we have 2x squared plus 12x. So let's factor that first. Well, what do they share? They share 2x. So 2x times x plus 6. That would give back my numerator. The denominator shares a 4. That's an easy one. Okay, and so hopefully you understand that. So now let's go to our numerator on the other one. So I need my box. And so I'm going to do negative 12 at the top. At the bottom, I need a negative 4. So what two numbers multiply give me a negative 12, but add up to a negative 4? 6 and 2. The 6 being negative. So since I have x minus 6 and x plus 2. Now x squared minus 36. Okay, well that's the difference of squares. You should recognize that all the time. X minus 6. Now this is the fun part. Let's just start simplifying factors out. So x minus 6, you're gone. X plus 6, you're gone. X plus 2, you're gone. Man, all the binomials are gone. Binomial factors are gone. So now I'm left with this. Well, there's no x anymore, so the x has to stay. But the 2 and 4 needs to be simplified to 1 over 2. So hence, I have my answer, x over 2. All right, let's do the last example. And I'm keeping this pretty good to be shorter than 11 minutes. All right, so, well, I hope it's shorter than 11. So simplify the following rational expressions by factoring completely. So first step, I see difference of squares. I'm going to write it correctly too. I'm not going to turn it around because I want to. No, it's 3 minus x and 3 plus x. Now in the denominator, I see 2 and I see an x to the second power. Both terms have at least an x to the second power. So when I write that, I get 2x squared and x minus 3. Now let's move on to the second fraction. Top is easy. I see 4x clearly that they both terms share. So I'm going to factor out a 4x. And I have a 4x and x minus 1. Now here we have a problem. I want you guys to please remember this. We have a that is not 1. So we're going to have to work a little bit harder to factor that out. So we multiply 3 times negative 2 is negative 6. And then negative 1 is my middle term. So it would take a negative 3 and a positive 2. Now, once I know that, I am going to have to group. So I have to do 3x squared minus 3x plus 2x minus 2. And then they share a 3x. Remember, I told you guys, you cannot forget how to factor. And then my parentheses is going to be 3x plus 2 and x minus 1. And you guys should remember grouping. We had to do it last week. You cannot forget how to factor. And factor shows up everywhere, especially in rational expressions. All right, I'm going to have to erase this, but we know that in that denominator is going to be 3x plus 2 times x minus 1. So let's go ahead and erase that. Oh, I like using an eraser. It's cool. It's not very effective, but it gets the job done. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and drop what we said. For x minus 1. All right, good. Now, the fun part. So I'm going to do x minus 1 and 3. Oh, we have a negative 1 from like last week. We got a negative 1 because it's 3 minus x, and x minus 1. And let's talk about the 3x plus 2 and 3 plus x. That has to stay. So let's cancel out the 4 and the 2, the x and the x squared, which will be x. So let's see what's left. And then I'm going to have to add a negative 1 because I forgot. So it's going to be a negative in front of the term or with the 2. All right, so that went 12 minutes. I really was trying to get it slower than that, but you know how it goes. So if you need help, please, please, please text me, email me, send me a reminder, and I will have a Zoom anytime you need it. You have 8 questions to do to practice this. I hope you're staying safe. I will talk to you guys later.